Charles VIII of Sweden. Charles I of Norway, also Carl, was King of Sweden and King of Norway. Early life. Carl Knutsson was born in October 1408 to 1409 at Ekholmen Castle, the son of Knut Truedson, knight and member of the Privy Council, and Margareta Karlsdotter, the only daughter and heiress of Charles Ulfson, Lord of Tofta. His father Knut was first cousin of Erik Johansson Vasa's father. King Charles died the 14th of May 1470. His first marriage, in 1428, to Birgitta Thorsdotter, gave him his daughter Christina. His second marriage, in 1438, to Katarina Karlsdotter, produced his second daughter Magdalena, who married Ivar Axelsson. He also had two children by his third wife Christina Abrahamsdotter, Anna and Karl. His father was said by contemporary legends to descend from a younger brother of King Erik IX. His mother, an important heiress, descended from Jarl Charles the Deaf and consequently from some ancient folk Jarls of Sweden, as well as from Ingegerdnutdotter, a daughter of Knut IV of Denmark and Adela of Flanders. Growing influence. In 1434 he became a member of the Privy Council of Sweden, and in October of the same year he assumed one of its most senior offices, Lord High Constable of Sweden, or Riksmask. Because of the growing dissatisfaction with King Erik of Pomerania among the Swedish nobility, Charles was in 1436 made Rikshovitsman, an office equating to military governor of the realm, and finally replaced the king as an elected regent from 1438 to 1440, as the result of the rebellion by Engelbrekt Engelbrektsson. During Charles's brief regentship, the so-called Rebellion of David took place in Finland. Erik of Pomerania was forced to step down from the throne, and in 1440 Christopher of Bavaria was elected King of Sweden, Norway and Denmark. At the coronation of Christopher in September 1441, Charles was dubbed a knight and appointed Lord High Justiciar of Sweden, or Riksstros. In October he resigned as Lord High Justiciar and resumed his office as Lord High Constable. From 1442 he was the military governor Hovitsman at Viborg in Finland. Charles acquired extensive fiefs, for example in western Finland. His first seat was in Turku. Soon, Christopher's government began to take back fiefs and positions, and Charles was forced to give up the castle of Turku. Charles's next seat was the castle of Viborg on Finland's eastern border, where he kept an independent court, taking no heed of Christopher and exercising his own foreign policy in relation to such powers in the region as the Hanseatic League, the Russian city of Novgorod, and the Teutonic Knights in what are today Estonia and Latvia. King of Sweden. At the death of Christopher in 1448, without a direct heir, Charles was elected King of Sweden on the 20th of June, and on the 28th of June he was hailed as the new monarch at the Stones of Mora, not far from Uppsala, mostly due to his own military troops being present at the place against the wishes of Regents Bengt and Niels Johnson. The Danish had in September 1448 elected Christian I as the new monarch. A rivalry ensued between Charles and Christian for the throne of Norway, which had also been ruled by Christopher, with both kings gaining support from various factions in the Norwegian Council of the Realm. In 1449 a portion of the Norwegian Council elected Charles King of Norway, and he was crowned in Nidaros Cathedral in Trondheim on the 20th of November. However, Christian also continued pursuing his claim to Norway. The Swedish aristocracy was reluctant to back Charles in a war against Denmark over Norway, and already in 1450, Charles was forced to relinquish the throne of Norway in favor of Christian. From 1451, Sweden and Denmark were in state of war against each other. Because of devastating warring, a growing opposition against Charles emerged among the nobility in Sweden. The strongest opponent was the Swedish Church, which opposed Charles's efforts to concentrate royal and secular power. Other opponents were the family group of Oxenstierna and the House of Vasa, which had been on the opposing side in the election of king and lost. Later reigns. During the next 20 years, Charles was deposed twice, only to regain the throne and reign 3 times. In 1457, a rebellion took place, led by Archbishop John Bengtsson and a nobleman, Erik Axelsson Tott. Charles went into exile to Danzig. The 2 leaders of the revolt took the regentship, and organized the election of Christian I of Denmark as king. In 1463, King Christian quarreled with the archbishop because of his taxation policies. The archbishop was imprisoned, which resulted in a rebellion by his relatives, and led to Christian being driven out of Sweden. Charles was recalled by the rebels and returned at the head of a force of German and Polish mercenaries. Upon arrival in Sweden, he found himself at war with the archbishop, and after 2 bloody battles in the winter of 1464 to 1465, Charles was again exiled. In 1467, the regent Erik Axelsson Tott, now having reverted to support Charles, once more he had him crowned. Charles then reigned for 3 years, sharing power with the Riksråd, until his death in Stockholm in May 1470. Family. With Birgitta Turesdotter Ture Karlsson. Christina Karlsdotter, married 1446 to the noble councillor and courtier Erika Eriksson. With Catherine of Bjurholm, Margaret Karlsdotter. Magdalene Karlsdotter, married to noble Ivar Axelsson 1466. Ristesson Karlsdotter, nun at Vadstena Abbey. Bridget Karlsdotter, nun at Vadstena Abbey. 4 sons died early. With Christina Abrahamsdotter. Anna Karlsdotter, married to the noble Håkan Svensson, governor of Vadsteras Castle. Charles Bond. He left only 1 young son, born of his mistress, Christina Abrahamsdotter, whom he married on his deathbed. Though she was recognized as queen, the Swedish government did not allow the boy, suddenly legitimized as Prince Charles, to succeed him, but appointed one of the number, Stenshur the Elder, as regent. Legacy. Charles represented a growing nationalist tendency among the Swedish aristocracy, which tried first to subjugate the other Scandinavian countries under Sweden, but soon focused on dissolving the Kalmar Union. In the next century, when the Union was finally dissolved, Charles received some respect as an early champion of Swedish independence. Charles's fight for power and kingship was more successful than his experience thereof. He allegedly recognized this himself and described his life in a brief poem: "When I was lord of Fagalvik, then I had wealth and might unique. But once I was king of the Swedish land, I was a poor and unhappy man." Charles's great-granddaughter Christina Nilsdotter Gyllenstierna was married to Stenshur the Younger, whose regentship represented similar values, nationalism and Swedish independence. Though the Bond family, not descendants of Charles himself but just his collateral relatives, remained prominent among the Swedish nobility and in politics into the 20th century, Charles's own descendants did not ascend nor inherit any thrones until Prince Christian zu Schleswig-Holstein-Sonderburg-Glucksburg became Christian IX of Denmark in 1863. Charles's descendants have since ascended the thrones of Norway, Greece and Great Britain. His distant direct descendant, Sibylla of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, married the hereditary Prince of Sweden in the 20th century, and with Sibylla's son, King Carl XVI Gustav of Sweden, Charles's blood returned to the Swedish throne.